I'm really excited to be here today with all these savvy ladies, so thanks everyone for joining. Today we're going to talk about the importance of financial planning and when thinking about retirement, your next act. And I'd like to walk you through why it's important, especially for us women, to have a financial plan and preparing for our retirement, and how we can take control and really make it happen. It's never too late. I also want to talk about how lifetime income can be an important part of your retirement planning. And you should feel good. You've already taken the first step to be on this call today. This is something that we all can do. Even if it's something that you're just starting to think about now, it's definitely doable. And so at the end, I will allot some time for us to have some questions and answers. But I'll get started by walking us through some of the things that we should be thinking about in our retirement and how we can plan for that next act. So amazing statistic here. Think about this, that there are every day 10,000 people that are reaching retirement, and that number is only going to increase. So there's never been more people retiring ever than right now, and that number is going to keep growing. This is a trend that's changing the way that many people are thinking about retirement, and if it's not something that you've thought about before, or this is a great time to start thinking about what you can do to help prepare for that. Retirement itself is changing, and baby boomers in many ways are redefining what it means to be retired. More and more people are using this time to reinvent themselves. There are many people who want to find a new career, that not only want to work or need to work, but are also seeking out new experiences. And retirement is really not what it used to be. People are really living active, very engaged lives and finding it more rewarding, which is important because we're living much longer than we used to. So as you think about your second act, it's important to really just take some time to really think about what you might do, what you might need to do. What are your dreams? I think a great thing to do is just take some time, close your eyes, and visualize what it is that's important to you and what your life may look like, what you want it to look like. And it's never too early to start planning, to kind of build that bridge from your current work to really what's next, and to start thinking about what that life means and how you can financially think about how to actually build a plan to make that visualization, make that dream a reality. And so here's some data. I want to talk a little bit about some of the facts about retirement, how we can learn from others, and how we can think about that future, and what are the expected costs, first of all, when we think about retirement. So there's a lot of things that change to what we do in retirement, but what's not changing is that we all need money to live our dreams. And if you know your annual income while you're still working, you can think about expecting to spend between 55 and 80% on average throughout your retirement to fund your retirement lifestyle and your healthcare costs. So expect about 15% of your living expenses to be related to healthcare expenses after you retire year in and year out. And women are special for many reasons. We're not only half of the population, more than half, and over half of us are the primary breadwinners in our family, but we also have some special challenges that we face when it comes to retirement. I often like to refer to these as there are different gaps that we have. So one of them is the wage gap. We earn less money than men. The other one is the age gap. We're living longer than men, and we're also more likely to be caring for and paying for our parents or adult children. And that, that influences our wages as well, because we often have to take time out of work or away from work for care. So we live longer, we're most likely to outlive our spouses and face higher costs in our retirement. And we can face these disruptions in our career because of the care that we provide for others. We also often earn less. You can see here, on average, 79 cents relative to $1 for men. So there are different challenges that we have as women that we carry, and those factors contribute to creating a higher risk of us living in poverty for elderly, as elderly women versus elderly men. So understanding that there are some great things and advantages we have as women, but there's also some unique challenges that we need to consider as we think about our retirement and saving for that plan. So when we think about what are just in general, overall, some of the traditional challenges in saving for retirement, we know that healthcare costs are going up, inflation, so $1 today isn't as worth as much as $1 in the future, and the market that can create fluctuations. If we are invested in the market, we can get a fluctuating rate of return or market volatility. And that's on top of all the usual financial concerns we may have, more broadly in retirement. So when we think about it, when you think about the costs and the challenges, do you have a financial plan? Have you actually thought about how do you plan for that dream, that visualization of what you're actually going to do in the future? How do we add this together and make sure that we will have the financial resources to live the life that we want to? So many of us, we know, don't take the time to do it, and I think it's hard. And there's so many unknowns. We don't know how long we're going to live, as an example, and we're not often sure kind of where to start. So knowing kind of your financial status is one of the key parts of the process, and figuring out, do you need help? Do you have, starting to save or continuing to save is going to be important. How do you figure out how much you're going to save? How do you invest wisely? Where do you need help doing that? Taking the time to actually think about your financial health is an important part of our overall financial wellness. So here is a great approach, or an approach for you to consider, a really simple approach to just get started in thinking about that financial plan. And one thing that women are really good at is we are often the CFO of our household, and we know how to create a budget. And this is a really basic approach to help just think about money coming in, money coming out, and calculating what is the monthly income that we have and the expenses that we need to cover. And so if we can break down our income and expenses into monthly amounts, it can help get a better handle on that future of what we're going to need. I think this is an easier way to understand and kind of comprehend it, is by basically creating a basic budgeting system and thinking about it in terms of on a monthly basis. What's the monthly paycheck that I need to cover my expenses? So to calculate, in general, your needs for retirement, you first have to figure out what you will need to finance those retirement years. And this simple worksheet might give you a sense of how to do that. There's lots, if you go online, you can Google, there's lots of online calculators. Many companies will provide these calculators to do the math for you, so you can certainly use a more advanced tool or calculator online. But these are some of the basic components that I think are important to think about when you think about what is the money that I have coming in, the income, and what are the expenses, the core expenses that I would have coming out. Some of the income sources that you saw in that first slide is Social Security. Most of us will rely heavily on Social Security for retirement income, and that's great because it's a dependable and consistent source of income. However, one of the surprising things that you may not realize is that it replaces, for most people, less than half of our income. So while you'll want to have other sources of income, like a pension, or the money that you save beyond Social Security. Another source of income is a pension. A pension is a great resource. The challenge is that only 17% of private sector employers currently offer a pension. So today's retirees are far less likely to have this as a source of income, as many companies and employers have switched to defined benefit or defined contribution plans. Another source of income is savings. And so where most of us will make up the difference beyond Social Security or a pension is what we've done ourselves, is our own savings. So you may have a 401k plan or an individual requirement account or even just a simple savings account. The question here is, how do you know if you're saving enough? And the answer is hard to define because we don't know exactly how long we're going to live or how long our money is going to have to last. There are, however, online calculators that can help, and they can help us estimate exactly how many years we think we will be retired and help us calculate how much we would need each year. So be sure to kind of break down this into monthly segments before you put it in a worksheet like this. Think about it on a monthly basis. And then on the expense side, so we just talked about 3 sources of income. Let's talk about what some of the core expenses that we'll have. So this one's a little easier to calculate. You probably already have bills today that you can estimate what you think these costs would be. So if you think about your mugs, mortgage, utilities, groceries, there are those things that you also want to do in retirement, like travel, spending on your hobbies. Maybe also it's important to you that you have money that is charitable or that you're leaving a legacy and giving gifts to your kids or your grandkids. All of those you should consider into this worksheet. And then essentially you say, okay, how do these 2 things match up? Is there a gap between the income that I have and the expenses? If you feel that your projected income won't cover your expenses when you retire, then we have a starting place to figure out what can we do to either reduce the cost, reduce those expenses, and decrease the amount that we need, or how can we leverage our savings to generate more income in the future. And one of the ways that you can do that is through an annuity. This is something that many people may not know about, and that's been, as Maggie mentioned in the intro, it's an important part of the commitment that the Alliance for Lifetime Income has made, is to help educate more Americans about the importance and the option that an annuity can provide in their financial plan. And what is an annuity? At its most basic levels, you might not have even heard of it. It's basically a financial product that's offered by an insurance company that can create a stream of payments that can continue for as long as you live. And basically you invest that money, usually in a lump sum, and the annuity generates payments for a specific amount of time. It can be structured to pay you monthly for as long as you live. So if there's a gap between your monthly income and expenses, investing some of your savings in an annuity could be a way to create a guaranteed income that would help fill that gap. And there are basically 3 types of annuities. They're very flexible. They're designed to meet different needs, but the basic types I've outlined here. There's a fixed annuity that, as it says, fixed, pays a designated fixed rate of return. Variable annuities provide a rate of return that's tied to some other financial asset, like a mutual fund, and index annuities provide a rate of return that's tied to a portion of the increase in a market index like the Standard & Poor's 500. So lots of different options, but essentially figuring out a way to generate a payment for a guaranteed period of time. So why are annuities so beneficial for women? Well, we talked about some of the unique challenges that women face, and adding an annuity to your portfolio, having it be a portion of your financial plan, can help eliminate longevity risk. That's the risk that we said, but we live longer than men. It's that risk of outliving our money. And you can invest in the stock market without the risk of losing that principal when you have an annuity. And this may potentially allow you to receive a higher rate of return than some of the other investments that you may get. So a couple things you should know about annuities. There are costs involved in buying and owning them, and there are a lot, as you would imagine, there are costs that align very much like when you would buy any other financial product. So if you own, for example, a mutual fund, you know you have to pay a fee to have someone manage that money, or if you own stocks, you pay a brokerage fees. Similar to those products, you should understand the costs, and that can help you make your decision on what type of annuity is best for you and your family. Some people believe that owning an annuity will lock up your money and that once you invested, you can't get it back. Of course, that's always a good idea to talk with a financial professional to consult, to understand how exactly an annuity works, and they can help you understand your options so that you can figure out the right annuity that would fit in your retirement plan. So just to wrap things up, let me quickly recap everything that we just talked through. Retirement is changing, and the way that we spend our money changes. As we think about that future, it's really important that we understand what our retirement costs can be. As women, we face some unique challenges that can impact our plan, so we need to be well aware of them. But as I said, women are in a great position. We're the CFOs of our households. We're great budgeters. We're in a really good position to make a plan, and we know that having a plan is so important to reaching the retirement goal that works for you. So if you can start just in a very basic way, just by looking at the expenses you have and the income that you have, and think about it in retirement from a monthly perspective, it can be a great start to building toward that future vision and dream that you have for your retirement. And think about how an annuity can be a portion of that plan and help you close that gap, if you have one, between your expected income in retirement and your expected expenses. And the Alliance for Lifetime Income has some great resources on its website. It's not product specific. It's all about understanding how protected income can be a part of your plan. If you go to the website retireyourrisk.org, it's a great resource. Or if you have a financial professional, they can be really helpful in helping you figure out what portion and how an annuity might be able to benefit you. So I will refer to the last page that explains that the disclosure and hand it back to Maggie.
Thanks, Melissa. That was great. I want to thank you again, Melissa, for a really excellent presentation. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We will definitely be sending out the links that Melissa mentioned to the Alliance for Lifetime Income. We'll be sending a follow-up email. So thanks again, and thank you so much, Melissa.
Thanks, Maggie, and the Savvy ladies.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks.